Welcome back to Hilaal Live. Now, the National Students Financial Aid Scheme has apologized to students who could not receive their allowance on time. Now, this was after a Sunday Times newspaper published a story on how thousands of NSFAS financially funded students have been left starving without food and money due to non-payment of their services. Joining us now is Asiva Dlanjwa, who is the national spokesperson of the South African Union of Stewards. Asiva, thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal Live.
Good afternoon to you and to your listeners, and thank you for having us.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Asiva, let's start, of course, with the root problems. I mean, this is such a devastation for students because we understand how important NSFAS is, and they've just been left disappointed once again.
Yes, that's indeed true. It's very disappointing and, in fact, quite devastating for the students because not only, obviously, are they left hungry and without the necessary necessities, but they have also started the final year examinations. So it has been quite a devastating time for students, particularly those that are funded by NSFAS.
Asiva, the union, of course, which you represent, has been assisting these students. Talk to us about some of the assistance that you have been giving them.
We have been trying to facilitate for them means of food and toiletries through engaging with some of their respective universities and student deans for there to be some level of assistance for them. Although obviously it won't be enough and it won't reach all students, but those are some of the steps that we have taken.
Asiva, what now? Because it really seems to be such a difficult time for these students. And I want to touch on the long-term solution in a bit, but have you as the union gone ahead and spoken to NSFAS? This is an organization that has been riddled with so much of problems. Has there been communication between your union and that of NSFAS?
We have been in communication with NSFAS. That is where they would have given us the explanation as to what happened, basically stating that it had been the fault of universities based on a process that they call it a touch adjustment process, where universities that either not submitted in on time or correctly their adjustment information. However, obviously it's an explanation which we must reject because we appreciate that these students should have been getting paid from month to month. It can't be that every month when they need to get paid, there is some sort of a crisis or a story that leads to them not getting their money. So we have been in touch with them. They had committed that by all students by today would have received their allowances.
I see that NSFAS is riddled with a lot of leadership problems at this very moment. Is that another one of the root causes that are persisting right now in really delaying what is actually due to these students?
Yes, absolutely. You cannot look into the issue of NSFAS without studying the crisis that has been happening at NSFAS generally. And we believe one of those things that need to be done is that the department needs to coordinate better the sector, because we have seen for the longest time the back and forth and the tug of war between NSFAS and universities. And these are all public institutions, including NSFAS. So we believe that the department and the minister must do much better work to try and coordinate the sector. And at the level of NSFAS, there is also a lot of incompetent staff there. We say that those staff members need to be let go of, or else they will sink the scheme.
I want to touch on the minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande. Has your union been in touch with him to, of course, take this or expedite this problem?
We have with his office, maybe not necessarily directly, But we have been in any case on a continuous engagement with the minister. The theme of our engagement has been always around the lines that the minister must take decisive steps because it was seeming that the minister is not decisive enough to deal with some of the issues. This is why you are having entities within his department all pulling in different directions.
One final question, Asiva, what now from a long-term perspective? Because if you are a student, and I want to put myself in a student's shoes right now, you don't want to be come the next month, come the following month, you don't know whether this funding is going to happen. So what needs to happen from a long-term perspective?
From a long perspective, as I say, there needs to be intervention over and above what NSFAS must do. It's what government must do through the Department of Higher Education. So that is where we are hoping that we will see intervention in the long term to try and stabilize the ship.
Asiva, thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal Live.
Thank you very much.
That's Asiva Dlanjwa. He is the national spokesperson of the South African Union of Students. After the break, I'll have your latest in news. Do stay tuned.